most of what I do is historical in nature. Um, I'm a history buff, and I'm always looking for properties where there may be relics or little bits and pieces of our past. Which, being a history buff, it's painful to realize how much of our past and history is in the ground underneath our feet, just rusting and rotting away. And a lot of kind people will invite me out to their properties and allow me to search. And I've been able to put a number of items into museums, libraries, and schools as a result of that. Keeps me busy. But also, I'm a big believer in giving back. And so I offer my services free to anybody who has lost something. And I've had everything from $8,000, wedding bands for a fellow that actually got married the night before. And while his bride was taking a nap, he and his buddy snuck off to the beach and he lost this unbelievable ring. Often wonder what that honeymoon would have been like if I had not come along. But a couple of months ago, I was not eavesdropping, but I overheard Mary talking about selling her parents' house.
Mary right here.
And I work with a lot of real estate agents who I tell me it's like a value-added thing. You hook me up with people so that the previous owner, if they lost something or if they think, Aunt Mary's ring or necklace or whatever is still in the yard, I'll go and I'll look for it. So I asked her if there was possibly anything that she needed to be found, and she said she'd think about it. And so recently we made touch, and lo and behold, her father had lost a couple of rings. So I went over last week to see what I could do. And I talked to her before I went over there, and she just absolutely insisted they were in the backyard. Okay. So I started in the backyard, where I learned the backyard at her parents' house has wires, electrical wires running all over the place. I don't know what they had, lit up lights or something. Also a great deal of chicken wire buried in the ground to prevent a dog from digging out. And that's, put it bluntly, hell for somebody using a metal detector. So after a couple of hours of basically digging false starts, I thought, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to go into the front yard. And so I stepped through the gate leading to the front yard, and I took one step, and I got a signal. And you have to understand, gold, there is no signal for gold, because nobody uses 24 karat gold. It all has alloys mixed into it to give it strength. And the different alloys that they use sound exactly like bottle caps, pull tabs, pennies, aluminum foil, and so forth. So you're constantly digging stuff that, is really a pain. And this sounded like a pull tab, and I'd found several already, but I thought, oh, what the heck. Well, about 6 inches down, this comes out. That is one honker of a gold band. And so it has initials in it, and it has a date of, I believe it was August 25th, 12. So I called Mary and I said, well, I found this. What do you think? And she goes, that's not my dad's ring. Those are his initials. Whoops. Those are his initials, but he was not born before 1912, and he had died before 2012. And so I'm like, okay, well, any idea who it could be? And she thought maybe it was the builder. So she gave me a name, and I spent most of the day trying to track this fellow down. I called some home builders that I know, and blah, 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 and I got a lead for some real estate fellow in Fernandina. And every time I tried to call, he wasn't in, and they wanted to know what I had. So I found something that may be of his. Well, what is it? And I just don't share that kind of information. Got me in trouble one time because a fellow asked me to come and look for his wife's lost ring in their yard. And we made an appointment. When I got there, he didn't answer the door. And it was about an hour drive, so I thought, well, I know where he said it was going to be, which, by the way, is never do I find it where people think they lost it. So I was working away, and I heard somebody coming up the sidewalk. I was over my shoulder, and here comes this woman, barefoot, carrying a bag of groceries, and it's at least 2 miles to the nearest grocery store. And I thought it was kind of odd, but she walks up, she taps me on the shoulder, and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm looking for something." "What?" "Well, I'm looking for something that's lost." "Well, what?" I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I really can't tell you." And she goes, "Well, why not? This is my house." And I went, "Didn't Dave tell you I'm coming over to look for your lost ring?" She goes, "No, he didn't, and furthermore, I don't think it's here." And it wasn't, but nonetheless. But then she calls me back, and she's all excited. "Did you talk to some relatives, or did you just figure it out on your own that this was actually her grandfather's ring?" And the date was their wedding date. Is that correct? 1912.
Yeah.
So it's 107 years old.
Wow.
And you said that it was an arranged marriage. Your grandmother was 14.
She was 14.
Wow.
And so, with a great deal of joy, and by the way, I had Scott and Sons clean it up.
Oh, you did?
I'd like to give you back your grandfather/father's ring.
Oh, I didn't even know he had that. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
Now,
That's beautiful.
I do this for free. And a lot of people do ask me, "Why do you do it for free?" And I said, "Well, I'm trying to pry my way into heaven, but I don't think I have enough time." But one of the things that I do is, whenever somebody asks me to come and look, I say, "Okay, fine, I'm glad to do it." But I do ask for permission to hunt the entire property. And anything else that I find, I get to keep. And most people think that's a pretty fair deal. So not too long ago, I got a call from a fellow. His family was about to lose a house over in Ortega. It was a 90-year-old house. It had been his aunt's. It was falling apart. Like I said, the bank was taking it back. But apparently his aunt was quite a character, because this place was a speakeasy. It was a brothel. And supposedly some of the Chicago gangsters that used to vacation in Jacksonville stayed there. So I found this fellow's ring for him, and I said, "Well, I'm going to go back and see if there's anything else." He goes, "Hey, good luck. Hope you find something." And I did. I thought this was fake. I know most of you cannot probably see it very well, but it is a 14-karat gold ring with a 4-karat natural blue sapphire.
Wow.
And 3 diamonds on each side. My wife is absolutely ecstatic. I called him about it.
All right.
And he goes, "Didn't belong to us." He said, "Maybe somebody's, some gangster's mall dropped it." And I said, "Well, good for both of us. You got your ring back, and my wife's got a new one."
Wow, that's beautiful.
So sometimes, a good deed for somebody else turns out to be a good deed for you too.
Wow, that's a big find.